Hi, everyone. Hi, I'm Kristen
Hello,
Johnson, and this is.
Kristen Kline.
So, I'm not going to lie, we're a little overwhelmed. We just decided to set this up not even within a week ago, and the response has been crazy. And so, hi, Blake. So, this response has been crazy. So, we are a little overwhelmed. This is just going to be really organic. We both do podcasts all the time. Um, I just I think the thing we're here, no, I know the thing we're here to talk about is reentry and recovery. And I am the reentry coordinator in Graham and Greenlee County. I also am formerly incarcerated and formerly intoxicated. Shout out, fam. Um, our mics are hot. We're going. Andrew said our mics are hot. Yeah.
Hi,
So,
Andrew.
hi, everybody. Hi, Cheryl. So here's the thing. I did the normal thing of somebody who's been incarcerated. I struggled with drugs and alcohol addiction and incarceration almost my whole adult life. And I would be in and out of jail. And finally, I caught a prison sentence in my 40s. I was locked up for all of my 40s. And before I went to prison, my brother spoke at one of my sentencings, and I was already in prison for 5 years, and then I was getting 7 more. And he got up and he said, Your Honor, my sister, there's a quote by Viktor Frankl that says, What is to give light must endure burning. And I do believe my sister belongs in prison for these 5 years, but I believe she has some light to give other people. And that stuck with me my whole prison sentence. So I get into prison and I get really very active in recovery. And then COVID happens and we have to plan our own recovery. And during COVID we couldn't have any visits or phone calls, and it was almost better that way because you can't miss what you can't have, right? So I end up on a yard called Rosa, and this is where I meet Chris. We used to play volleyball together. Right before she got out, I remember on Christmas Day we had a volleyball tournament and played in the mud. We did have a lot of fun in prison, actually. But I started a class that I did called The Way Out, that I would teach the girls to how to get out and work through their triggers and stuff like that. And I just got really close to them. And right before I got out, I went around and said, You guys, I'm going to start this newsletter. Can I have your number? And you can't have other people's numbers in prison. But I said, I'm signing you up for a class. I want your number. I'm going to start this newsletter. And when I got out, the first thing I did was start putting this newsletter together, but I didn't know very well about technology. So my brother and his wife had helped me put it together, which is very basic. I contacted the Graham County Substance Abuse Coalition and said, listen, I want to be of service. I've done a lot of wreckage in that community. And the director, Kathy Grimes, was in my living room within a week. I started volunteering with them, taking people to rehab. They took on my newsletter. I sent it into about 40 girls in Perryville and a couple of guys in Phoenix West that I met at the Second Chance Center. And it took on a life of its own. The light now goes into prisons all over the United States, mostly in Arizona. So I am on social media, and I run across a picture of Kristen and Megan one day. And so I reach out to her and I'm like, oh, I see what you're doing. What you're doing is cool. I'm doing the light. I'm doing this newsletter. I'm a reentry coordinator. So we get to talking. I send her a copy of the light and we just start supporting each other. And I think, no, I know what this is about is I'm not just here to pump me and Kristen up, even though we're pretty cool. I'm not here just to pump us up. This is more about prison to possibility. I'm a person with 19 felonies. I'm the worst wounded soul. I'm the worst addict. I'm the worst alcoholic. I was highly favored by society. And I was able to get out, and I'm an advocate now. And I think the through line of my message is shining a light on the stigma of incarceration and addiction. And I was able to go through the Second Chance program, and I wasn't able to parole to my house because one of my crimes. And when I got out, I contacted my parole officer and I said, listen, I have 14 certifications. I really did some work when I was in prison. And I said, can you come look at him? And he came and looked at him, and immediately he allowed me to go home. So now I'm an advocate for the Second Chance program. I go in and speak at all the Second Chance centers. And I think this really speaks to the fact that Arizona is reimagining corrections, because when I was in prison, there's no way there would be people coming back in that were formerly incarcerated. I definitely recommend the Second Chance program to everybody. 4 months after I got back out, I was back in at Phoenix West. And that's just kind of my story and what has happened. I've been able to start a reentry program that's DOC based, where it starts while they're inside. We do some curriculum. It carries out to when they're outside. The same judge that sentenced me to prison, same sheriff that's kicked in my door 4 times, maybe throughout my life, approached me. And we have a program called the Sunrise Program that if you get caught with minor drug or paraphernalia charges, you can be released to the Sunrise Program, do pretrial sentencing, and that actually will reflect in your sentencing. So just for the fact that the judge and the sheriff and the justice system here wants to work with me, we really got something going in Arizona, this real strong reentry movement. And I know the thing we do is show people what's actually possible, see people, hear people. And I'm going to let Kristen take over so we can kind of get into how we came back together and all the cool stuff she's doing. And I want to say thanks to her, because my involvement with Convicted Comeback, I'm about to get my badge. And in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be a certified personal trainer. And I'm going to turn it over to Chris for a few minutes.
Go ahead, Kristen. Good job. Okay. Hi, guys. Thanks for being here. My name is Kristen Kline. I am the co-founder of Convicted Comeback. And I know most of you probably know bits about me. I'll give a really brief rundown because I am really excited to get to some Q&A. So I've got 1 felony. I have been officially down 1 time. I've been out 5 years. I did just under 3 years. And I'm grateful that that's all I needed. But that was after a very long time of trauma and reaction to that trauma. And I guess to sum it all up, I didn't believe that you could teach an old dog new tricks. I didn't think that you could change. And I was very set in my ways. And once you get involved in so many things and your mindset is down a certain path, you're just going to spiral with that. And so I did not believe that resetting the way that I thought was ever a possibility. So just to go back a little bit, I have been an addict more than I have been sober in my life, but I was educated and an athlete. And I'm grateful that I had that in my background, because that's eventually what I went back to. When I was in prison, I, again, did not think that there was going to be any changing possible. And I, too, was in some second chance programs. This was right before COVID. And because of my crimes, which were dangerous, I was told that some of the jobs that I was interested in, I would never be able to have again. And I had lost hope. And that sums up where my state of mind was, hopeless. And that's where the state of mind is for a lot of those that are incarcerated. And my big thing was working out on that yard. Mm-hmm. And so I ran a boot camp. That sums it up. I took my love. I ran a boot camp, and it was very successful. And it was successful because women need to feel good about themselves, and women need to have some positive connection with community and the women around them, especially those that are going to visit reentry, because they come out as mothers and daughters and parents, and so much emotional healing needs to occur before you reenter and are in those roles. How do you learn that? Where do you gain that knowledge? And I thought that I would learn those things in the Second Chance program. At that time, it was very different. They were actually stopping it, I believe, because of COVID. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of up to us, right? And if there's no programming, nothing's going to change. Mm-hmm. And so through boot camp, I was able to change myself. And then I saw that change happen for the women that we did boot camp with. And that kind of just evolved into Convicted Comeback. And I did not see that coming, because I left prison and I never wanted to think about prison again. Not Not people in orange, not officers, not the prison. I threw away my boxes. I wanted it out of my life. But yet here we are with Convicted Comeback.
Yeah. So the way this Light Up the Comeback came up, I have a project called the Light Project that goes into Fort Grant Prison. And once a month, it's a holistic approach to reentry and recovery. We take samples, we do breath work, we meditation, we have journaling workshops. And the name of my newsletter, The Light, came from the quote that my brother said at my sentencing, that was, "What is to give light must endure burning." So when I started this Light project, that was the name. Obviously, my whole life embodies that quote. My program is called the Sunrise Program. So then there's Convicted Comeback, and you got to talk more about Freedom Tour, how cool that is, Chris. And so we've wanted to do this. And the other day, Chris told me, she said, "I have the perfect name for what we're going to do." And so she made us our logo, and it's Light Up the Comeback. And that's really powerful. I spoke recently at a Phoenix West Second Chance graduation, and they told me the theme was burn the boats, build the bridges. And so I told the guys, I said, "Let me tell you a story of these 4 girls." Because it started out, I think, just with 4 of us going in, me, you, Megan, Brittany, of these 4 girls that met in prison. And through our burning, we forged these friendships. And there is pain through that burning. And that, when we left the gates, we left the boats of addiction and incarceration behind us. And then we literally turned around and built a bridge and walked right back across it. Not only to that prison, I go into the men's units as well, but there's something powerful about going into Perryville. There's a lot of girls there still that we were incarcerated with. And it's given me the opportunity to go onto yards and be with people that are not getting out or have 20-year sentences. And, I wanted to give them my newsletter, and Convicted Comeback has allowed me to expand that. And I told the girls on Lumley, I'm going to send you this newsletter. And I got home, and that's the first thing I did, because in prison, people don't do what they say. I wrote them a letter, and I sent the newsletter in, and I got a call, and she said, "Kristen, this is dopey, and this woman isn't getting out until 2040. And she said, "I just want to thank you." She said, "Thank you for seeing us." And we do have situations like that. I just got a letter that said, "I met you on the basketball court at boot camp, and I didn't know you were from Safford and the reentry coordinator." So Convicted Comeback and the Light Project, that's why we're Light Up the Comeback, because we make a great team. And it's just not Graham County. It's just not Perryville. There's so much hope and possibility in people getting out and not just going back in, but there are so many people in this reentry movement in Arizona now that are just killing it. And if you get out and we can't help you, we know 10 people that can. Chris, you got to speak to what Freedom Tour is and what you do on Wednesday nights. And the news has come in, and you got to speak to some of that and some of the success we've had and how amazing it is.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm super nervous, guys, because I know that there's a lot of people here with us tonight, and I'm so honored. Truly, there was once a time in my life where I was such despicable scum that I would not deserve. It's true, though, like we, as an addict and, lifetime criminal, your mindset is so backwards, and you take from everyone and everything in the world. And I spent my life doing that. And when I went to prison, I had no desire to change, nor did I think that I would change. So the fact that I'm now on the other side and then in a position of leadership where I'm coaching it is mind blowing. Every day I am blown away at the fact that I have a stage and a platform and people are listening. And I know how valuable and important that is, because I value the fact that one person, just one person, reaches out and says, "Hey, thank you for that. I needed to hear that," because I remember the times that I sat there and I had no one to relate to, no safe place to say, "Hey, this is where I've come from. This is what I've been through. This is why I act the way I act. And I've got nothing. And I'm coming to you as nothing." And being on that other side, and Kristen, how many women every day share with us, and men. Like, that's what blows me away. I've just barely touched inside the men's prisons, and the amount of men that now are reaching out and connecting and being a part of Convicted Comeback is unbelievable. So basically, just to go back, I'm not a programmer. I have been in and out of rehabs, lockdown facilities for decades. I have been in AAs and NAs and you name it. I was forced, church programs, therapies, nothing worked because everything was wrong with me. Mm-hmm. And fitness, pounding it out on the pavement, fortunately, doing it 3 hours a day in a prison yard when you've got nothing else to do, really shows you a different side of you, because you can leave it all on that pavement and you can build yourself up into becoming anything else that you want to be. And I learned that finding fitness again inside prison. Mm-hmm. And when I started coaching that, I realized how powerful that was in itself. And through boot camp, I could teach others how to take accountability, how to instill discipline, and to move forward. I just had no idea that Convicted Comeback would actually become a program that ran inside the prisons. So when I got out, it was COVID. I had the stigma of a felon. Mm-hmm. I did not think I could have a job. You'll have to catch up with some past stories sometimes, because I'd never had a legit job. I was terrified. I went to school instead. I started with business. And I had somebody say, why would you study business? No one's going to hire a business professional that's a felon. And that hit me. And I thought, yeah, that's probably true. That's mm-hmm. silly. But I finished it anyways. And then I decided to stack on exercise science, because really what I loved and always came back to was fitness. It was so important to me, because when I'm working out, I have a good state of mind. When I'm not working out, that state of mind mm-hmm. slips, right? So And it also solves the addiction thing, because you can become addicted to fitness. You can become mm-hmm. addicted and fiend to that drive you receive when you are working out, any form of fitness. And so I graduate with those degrees, and I decide to write a book based on the traits that it took me to reenter society, because there's no manual. And the people that are mostly teaching programs are not felons. Mm-hmm, so mm-hmm. we need to hear it from the people that have done the walk. That's important to me. I've had a lot of people tell me what to do, but the people that have walked my walk are the ones that I listen to. And it's always been that way. And when I wrote this book and I thought, oh, this is going to change everything for everybody, they just need to read this. There wasn't really a way to get that in the hands of people, because everybody has programming on paper. But when I took to the prison a fitness plan, they were ready. They said, yeah, bring it in. And that was how it started. So co-founder, my wife, Megan Kline, and I would just like to give mad props to her, because she is the co-founder. And mm-hmm. she took her prison skills trade of maintenance, and she's now top HVAC in her company mm-hmm. and is the sole reason why I'm able to follow my dreams and run this mm-hmm. nonprofit, because otherwise I wouldn't have the time to do that. So mad props to her, and trades learned in prison. Use those skills, guys. But running that class inside prison, I was given the Carlos unit, which is the largest unit inside Perryville Prison, 1,300 plus women on an average day. I started running a GP boot camp class, which mimicked the boot camp that I ran on Rosa with Kristen and everybody else that we had time with. And it's brutal. We started with a 6-week program. It's a little brutal. We entice them with a graduation. We bring them carne asada tacos, because that's going to get people out on the court. And it's all about incentives. And that's something that I wanted them to learn as well, that there is a reward when you work hard. And sometimes you're not always working just for that reward. You're working because it's what you're instilling in yourself. And that's where that consistency creates that discipline through fitness. Well, people are watching this class, and it's got a great mm-hmm. turnout. We've got 42 people in our first 6-week program. Mm-hmm. And then people start asking, what about our yard? We hear the music. And the officers are saying, hey, what about our yard? The girls on our yard could use that. And then what got me was my seniors. I had some older seniors on the yard say, what are you going to do for us? We don't have anything. So I went back to the drawing board and I wrote a program for seniors, and I call it Silver Strength, and it's seniors mobility. We go back and forth between chair and walking aerobics, and we get those seniors moving every single week. And when I took a poll the very first week and I said, hands, please show me how many of you, this is the first time you've really moved this week. And every single one of these women, they're all 55 and up, said this is the most I've moved in years. So I realized how important not just boot camp for mindset development for GP population was, but also a class for the senior population, which is plentiful, because they will hit those gates and they need to be ready to move as well. Chase those grandchildren around, you know. Freedom Tour, right? I'll hit that real quick. So Freedom Tour was just that tail end, really adding it on. That's the cherry on top, because I could not figure out how to not leave anyone out unless we hit every yard in that prison. There happens to be 6, right? 6 yards. I don't know why I always get confused, because we always combine Rosa Pie, but there's 6 yards in Perryville Prison. And we go inside the prison. We start clocking in about 5:30 in the morning, really 5, because we got to get that media footage. And then we run through the entire prison. It's a 12-hour day inside the prison. We take a 3-hour break during PM count. And then we go back and we finish up with the Princess Yards, Rosa and Pie at the end. And it is a long, brutal day. In the summers, we survived our first summer, 2025. And it was 115 one day?
Yeah.
We've got nine of us, and we go in and we run a fitness class with strength, dance, and yoga, 1-hour session to every unit, 2 classes on Lumley, including close custody. And we give them an hour's class.
Yeah. And I remember the first day we went and we were inside the max unit, and the girls are just so happy to see us. And I just literally look over at Chris and we just have tears streaming down our face. Okay, I don't want to get emotional, but because Megan thinks we're crazy, but we just have tears streaming down our face because I was on Rosa. Like I said, we had to do our own, AA and NA. And there was a lady named June Bariata that would come in and would do AA with us. And that just always stuck with me. When I sent my first issue of The Light back in, the girls took it to AA and they were crying like, June, she did what she said, she's doing it. And so June called me and told me. Now she's very supportive of me, and we would wait. And there's church services that come in from outside. So I know the importance of community partners coming in. We would wait and be so excited to see people like that, as are the girls that do our programs, as are the men that do the Light Project in Stafford. And I hopefully, for sure, after the first of the year, when we get this all settled out, it's going to turn into a 12-week curriculum where we can do more art therapy, at 8 dimensions of wellness. This week I'm going to be at Stafford Tonto Unit on a couple days, so we can push the Second Chance program and get more people into the Second Chance program, because it really is life-changing, and it gives you so many opportunities. But I got asked to go speak at a CODA training. I'm like, this is so crazy. So Jason Jardines asked me to come speak, and I went, and they really wanted to hear it from my side, and they wanted from our side, as somebody that's been incarcerated. And they put a slide up on the wall and said, the recidivism rate in Arizona is about 39%. The recidivism rate for people who have community partner training, Second Chance program, it's more around 17%. This has been some months ago, so my numbers might be a little bit off. But again, I really have to speak to the fact, I'm going to say this. When we were in prison and they changed the name, it was COVID and it was all, we were like, what? Like, what's happening? But over time, it really is becoming more about rehabilitation and reentry. Speak to the fact that it blew my mind when we went to our first Freedom Tour, that the 4 of us who had been incarcerated together and been on these yards are in there. And we're able to speak to the girls, and we're able to, so it really does. I have to speak to the fact, people, I'm a large social media presence. If you know me, I actually was asked to come speak at the Virginia Reentry Forum by Sheriff Vanessa Crawford about not only the reentry movement in Arizona, about to the reentry programs we have here in Graham County, because the support and the connection, authenticity connects me and the reentry to these people. When I first got out, I volunteered with Recovery Angels, and I would go to the jail. I'd been out like 9 days to pick somebody up, and they're like, "Oh, are you my probation officer? Are you taking me to rehab?" And I'd have a guy with me because I had no license, and I'm like, "No, we have to leave the jail right now because I've only been out of prison a few days and I'm tripping out." So the fact that they are giving us this opportunity, and I'm not saying everybody should get out and come back in, but when you can go, I go and stand in front of the men at Phoenix West in Manzanita. And I went one day with the Arizona Supreme Court because my county is the only county that does the Supreme Court program where you can get your felony fines reduced upon release. And I was able to facilitate that call. I'm speaking at a Phoenix West graduation. A woman from the Arizona Supreme Court approaches me and she's like, "I love the idea of the program. Your judge seems amazing." So I facilitate that call. So I go to Manzanita and speak, and they're saying, her county is the first county. She's the reentry coordinator. And I'm at a second chance graduation. And I, all the people in there didn't know. And I said, "Hold on a minute." I said, "I am also a second chance graduate. I am also have graduated from this program 2 years ago." So it just speaks to possibility. Anything is possible. Like, we are far more than our worst mistakes. I know that's cliche, but I am just overwhelmed by what we are allowed to do and what we are getting to do in Arizona. And the Light Project and Convicted Comeback, I'm so excited to see where Light Up the Comeback comes in. And I know we're having an effect. We're affecting change in Arizona. Not Chris and I only, but there's George Nolan, Jeremy Shaw. I could go on and on and on and on about people that have been incarcerated, go back in and share our stories. Also, I have to speak to the other women in Convicted Comeback that are not felons and have just fallen in love and want to go back in. And yes, Leslie, approximately 37. I saw that. People that do the second chance programs. And when I spoke at Perryville recently, D.W. Wilson said, actually in Perryville, the recidivism rate for people who graduate second chance is even lower than that. So what we're doing is working. It is. I got to get into the chat. I just see this. If anybody has any questions. Yes, I was asked also to share on the Why Not mindset with Rustin Pangburn. And we're actually starting a movement more and opportunities more just beyond Arizona. I was able to speak into every prison in Virginia, and I was able to bring some things back from there. So I am really excited about our reentry movement. I think Convicted Comeback is. I don't think Chris gives herself enough credit for what she has pulled off there, and I tell her that all the time. I'm like, I can't believe, because we literally did. We all met in a prison yard in 2018, and to walk back into that same yard, and they are so happy to see us. And it is brutal. Like Julie Hoffman said, only these crazy women would say, "Hey, it's 112 degrees. Do you want to come join us and work out for 12 hours straight?" And those girls show up every time, and they're ready for us to come. And, I just was able to help a girl that's in my program. I got to see her when I would go on Wednesdays. I got to see her during Freedom Tour. She was released, came to my program. Wednesday, I'm able to accompany her to court, and she's going to be getting her children back. And these things, people that are willing to take the programs while they're in prison are far more likely to succeed when they get out. Both the house managers at the women's sober living home and the men's sober living home have came through our program. The house manager, he came through the program. He moved into the house, and he eventually became the house manager. Female house manager just walked into our program off the street. She saw it on social media, and I just watched her change. And she's been in and out of prison her whole life. And when the manager position came open, she took it. And it's people that are willing not only to take a chance on, but people that are willing to put in the work. Like I said before, there is no reason you can't make it when you get out of prison, because if we can't help you, 100 other people can. And I know people get out actually really homeless. That's why I push the second chance program, because you can reach back in. Ever since I got out, I've reached back in to Miss Sophia, and you can reach back in and they will help you. That's why I really, if anybody has a loved one that's incarcerated, they need to go to the second chance program. Not only can it help with their fees and their DMV fees. If you're my county now, it can help with your Superior Court fees. And the goal is here is to get other counties to do that, right? Because if you get out of prison, and I have a woman that got out and she had $30,000 in fines, and she straight up said, like, I can't even tackle this. I want to go back. But because she went through the second chance program, came through the IRC program, because Judge Michael Peterson is so amazing, she goes in and, he's not just going to wash him away, but she gets credit for hours. She does community service. She goes to classes. She goes to IOP, and he checks in with them. And we want to get this into other counties as well, and help people from going back into prison. So just everything we're doing in this whole reentry movement in Arizona and in the United States, it just speaks to how things are changing, because it wasn't like that when we were in prison. Chris, would you ever see somebody that got out walk back in and work out with us? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. No.
But things have changed.
Everything has changed.
Everything has changed for the better. For the better, for sure.
Which is why we created these things in the first place. I believe this is the same for you too. We saw a window and we jumped through it because we knew that there was a need, right? Mm-hmm. We both serve time, as well as the girls that we associate with now. We all served time where these programs didn't exist. So we had to retrain ourselves how to fit back into society as productive citizens, right? Like true mindset change. And so who better to teach it? And it is up to us. It's up to us to go back inside and let those girls know, hey, that's what you're told, the way you think it is wrong. Let us help, show you why. And I can sum it all with this. I started my time on the medium max unit. I had no desire to do any better, nor did I even believe that life could be better off that unit or living in a different way. I only changed because I had a counselor who worked inside that prison, who saw me and straight up said, hey, yo, you're not a gangster. And reclassed me. He reclassed me when I tried desperately multiple attempts to take it up, because I did not want to go down to Bay living, because I thought it was going to be horrible. So I wanted to stay in a medium max closed mindset in my cell because of fear. And the second I was forced and probed down to be in Rosa medium, everything changed. And it was like a little bit of a cloud was lifted. So that taught me that it only takes one person. And if you've got that one person who's going to believe in you before you believe in yourself and push you to believe in yourself, that's when you instill change. And where Convicted Comeback comes in, because it's exactly, you nailed it. It does take a whole community. I saw somebody asked about the hardest, the hardest feat for reentry. For most, I would say it's a well-rounded thing. You've got fixing yourself inside as a whole, your mindset, you need to be able to think differently. Then you have to be able to adult after incarceration, because for most of us, it's been decades and a lifetime of addiction and trauma and running and chaos and all those other negative things. So you have to rewire the brain so you're not behaving in that manner. And then you've got stability and work and sobriety and all those things hitting you at one time after you've done time down and life has been at a standstill. So Convicted Comeback, I know, is so important. Yes. Because we're not a mask. We are not a cover-up program. We are the program that is going to go in, beat you up on the pavement, and we're just going to coach you through it. You're going to do the work. You're going to beat yourself up on the pavement, because all we want to do is tear you up from the inside out. And then we're going to instill in you the traits that you need to rebuild yourself. Because if you can build discipline, structure, and self-leadership in someone, the traits that need to be established to change the behaviors and the emotional patterns, you can rewire and prevent the drive towards addiction and the system, right? So that's why we're so important. So we try to go in and shake them up Teach them this is their time. You will not have time like this anywhere else ever again in the world. Take this time right now and grow yourself. So if you come out and you show up and you allow us to coach you and train your muscles, we can train your mind, that biggest muscle. And then you can use that time wisely to become a better person. And then you are equipped. You're more equipped to handle the outside world. And then everything else kind of falls in place, right? It's this whole cycle. We got to nip all of it at once.
It's amazing that these women show up in the middle of the summer, in the middle of whatever, to literally go through the most brutal, intense workout. And we work out all the time, and we do it for hours on end. But for people that don't do it all the time, and they show up all ages. I love the seniors class. They always show up and just really work out. But people come. Same with the men in Safford. They show up. The first time we did a sound bath there was 12 people signed up, and I thought, like, yeah, this isn't really going to go well. Most of them had never done it, and some yoga. A lot of them have never done that, breath work, and they loved it. It's something different. It's something holistic. It's, whatever we've been doing before isn't working. So, we do it, and they just want to keep coming back, and it's just something different and something new for them. And I think it speaks to also, it is empowering and inspiring when somebody who's been there comes in and they really, really appreciate it. They really do. I really am grateful for the Safford unit for allowing us to do this here. And, eventually we want to take it into more units. And and I'm just going to be really honest. I never thought I would say this. I never thought, as someone who struggled with incarceration and has been incarceration, that I really like the Arizona Department of Reentry and Recovery. I mean, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be walking back in there. Hey, we stepped off a tram the other day, and an officer shook both of our hands. He knew exactly who we were. And he's like, I was your CO3. I was your CO3. Our kitchen officer, we ran into them, and they are really, really happy to see us. Hi, Jeremy. I was just shouting you out. I see you. We have a powerful reentry movement here, and we were able to go into the RSAT, RSAT, we're able to go in as community partners into these places. And most of us, the vast majority of us, are formerly incarcerated, and we're going in there and we're working sanctuary recovery centers, New Freedom. We're there representing Convicted Comeback. I'm there as a representative of Graham and Greenlee County Reentry, and it really has made all the difference in the world for the reentry in my counties, because I'm able to talk to them before they get out, and the success of people that will do it before they get out. When they get out, we've opened a men's sober living home. The Graham County Substance Abuse Coalition has. We've opened a women's sober living home. We have a contract with GEO now that if these guys go through Second Chance, it will help them pay their rent. The Arizona ACJC, Arizona Criminal Justice Commission, helps us a lot. Like, we're changing things in Arizona. And as I said, it's shocking to me that I would ever want to go back to prison, but I knew I was going to. The day I walked out of the Second Chance door, Miss Jackson said, I will see you back as a community partner. And Chris and I have gone in together and spoke at a Perryville Second Chance graduation. And it is so powerful to go back in there. And somebody asked me, wasn't it surreal when you first went back into Piastoa? And I was like, no, it was like coming home. I had to stand at the gate for 15 minutes, the officers don't recognize us, but really it's not foreign to me. And it's not hard going back in there. Sometimes it's surreal, but it really is a great feeling. And being of service is a self-worth life hack. And, if you can do anything for yourself, you can be of service. We've been able to go in and do a couple cancer walks. The girls went in and did some stuff at Christmas. There's a community celebration at Fort Grant where they've allowed me to come in and speak to the guys. And you would think that maybe they wouldn't be so impressed, but It's about possibility. You're incarcerated. It doesn't matter if there's a woman telling you can do it or a man. The fact that you can show them that change is possible, and it's different than it used to be. Used to be when we would get out of prison, parole and probation was hard for us to deal with. Like, you were going back. You messed up one time, you had a dirty UA, you were going back. It's so different now. You need to make relationships with your parole and probation officer because, hey, I told the line, I never did anything wrong. But I have guys in my program, and if they mess up, call your parole officer, call your probation officer. They're not trying to throw you right back in prison. The goal here is not to send people back into prison. We're trying to reduce recidivism rates, right? We're trying to help people, and that's the goal, because they're gonna be our neighbors. I mean, I'm your neighbor. They're gonna live next to our mom. Now, when you get out of prison, if you can't find a job, I don't know what to tell you, because I'm a felon and I found a job 3 weeks out. It's possible. The girls that come to the house, and sometimes we have to start at places like fast food, but I always say this, it's like the song, this week it's the mopping the floor, next week it's the fries, next week you're the manager. Anything is possible, and I think we speak to that. Chris, see if you can read the questions. You guys, if we miss any of these comments or questions, I always like to go back the next day and comment. This has really been amazing, because I wanted to do a live or a show for so long, and I'm on so many podcasts, and I love the support, and I'm so grateful so many of you popped on here. I think we can do this again. I think this is going to be our new passion, this light comeback. We're going to get it going and have different people on. Some of these people I see on here, Jeremy, hey, a lot of these people that are popping up on here have actually been in the light, and they're good friends of mine. And, we show up for each other. That's another thing, the Light and Convicted Comeback, the Light newsletter. I'm able to take it in. Chris puts in a workout routine in it. Julie Hoffman puts in a yoga sequence for it. And walking in there with some simple pieces of paper with some pictures on it and some letters from us and some articles and some exercises. And sometimes we put a piece of stationery in the back. Gold.
Yeah. And I'd like to touch on that. One of the big components of what we do with Convicted Comeback, and I think one of the most amazing things, and I know we've talked about this many times, the connection of us felons, right? Then we've got a crew of people who are not felons, but incarceration has affected their circle, and they feel passionate enough to put in the time and work. And once they've come in and seen what it's like inside, it does the same thing to them. I can't tell you the handful of people that we've been able to bring in to see a bit of how the Freedom Tour works. And this is what I can promise. If you come in with us and you get to see our classes run, especially on the Lumley unit with the medium max or the closed custody girls, right? You will not be the same person when you leave that prison.
No.
You are going to see so many emotions come out of these girls. Those close custody girls who are out like an hour, maybe a day, if they get that right, they come out, they give us zero problems. They join the class. They don't care about what's cool and what's not. You see them sweat, you see them smile, and we get hugs and we get letters, right? But one of the amazing things that we've done, and I'm going to totally throw this name out, and I know she won't mind. Samantha Rucker. Samantha Rucker did time with all of us way back when. Samantha has been down quite a few times. Samantha has never completed parole, and she has never had the desire to do anything any better. And when Megan and I first went back inside running our class in 2024, there were a few people that we did time with that we knew and joined the class, and that broke my heart. I can't even tell you the emotions that came out of that. Seeing people that had gotten out before me, but were now back in maybe more than once and wanted to be in our class. And Sam was one of them. And Sam completed our first boot camp, and then she joined until she was released. And I promised her that if she continued on with us, that we would have her be our very first and join Convicted Comeback. And I can tell you now, she's been out just under 6 months. She is still completing in flying colors parole. She's still sober. We have chit-chatted about her trials and tests, and she has passed them with flying colors. And she says that it is the programs. And I just can't even believe that that's the effect that we have. But she's not the only one that we have. That's not our only success story. We have multiples that stay with us and let us know that they're doing well. We have family members that reach out to us, ask us how their family members are doing inside. How can we reach them in a mental capacity to help them either virtually, which is something that we're growing, which is the reason we're doing this. Convicted Comeback is not just a nonprofit. Convicted Comeback is not just something that belongs to me or some organization. Convicted Comeback is a movement. It is a national movement.
Yes.
And we have already seen it in action because it takes a village, guys. It takes a lot of us. The resources that extend through our state and others is so valuable. And I can tell you that the things that I have learned and the ways that I have developed has been from other states that I have viewed and watched. There are people that are running advanced programs that we want to mirror and mimic. We want to bring them to our state. And likewise, we want to contribute and teach other states how to do what we're doing. It's not difficult. It needs to be done, but it's not difficult. And it can change an entire generation of the community. And that's what we do. And I love it. And we're on fire.
Yeah, we're on fire. And it is a movement. Light up the comeback. That's what we do. Speaking to Sam also, the Convicted Comeback, the issue of the light that we take back into Freedom Tour. Right after Samantha got out, the first time I saw her to hug her on this side, when I've only seen her inside as a facilitator or been incarcerated with her years ago, I lost a substantial amount of time, to hug her and have her come dance with us at Convicted Comeback. She works out now, but I asked Sam, I said, could you write an article for the girls? And I take it to every yard and we hand it out. And immediately everybody's like, I know Sam. Sam was here. And I said, well, write an article of somebody that's doing well from Convicted Comeback on the out every time. And they said, no, like, we want to hear more about Sam. Like, it's so inspiring that somebody that stood next to them on that basketball court got out and is doing it. And that's part of the light, that I always put somebody in there, male or female. There's a bunch of people on here that have been in there that are doing well, and people love to see that, and people need to be seen in there. I love Convicted Comeback so much because it's amazing and we have this great connection, but I also love it because it's given me the opportunity. I'm all about reentry. I'm all about, when you get out, this and that. It has totally changed the dynamic of the light because it goes into so many medium yards now. It literally goes over the United States, thanks to some podcasts I've been on that go on the tablet. Mostly my focus is in Arizona. But going on a medium yard and seeing people who are never getting out, women, and, hearing their stories. There's girls in there that are 18, 19 years old. There's a lot of people in prison that belong in prison, obviously, that were with somebody or part of a drive-by shooting. Bad decisions. One bad decision can land this young girl in prison for the rest of her life. And just them being seen, speaking to the girls on close custody, they are so excited when we come. November, we got rained out, or the weather in November, and the girls were worried. They were worried, like, what happened? Are you guys okay? And they're so happy when we come back. And again, I do, like I said, I just don't want to speak all of us up, but people that are just as impacted in Arizona, and I've already named a few, what we have been able to achieve is amazing, but we have only been able to do it, again, I can't believe this, because of the Arizona Department of Corrections. I don't know about other states, but, like I said, I have a big social media presence. People are like, well, man, I wish I could do this in my state. I wish I could do that in this state. And, but I think it takes programs. I see Frankie on here. He has Restored Journey. He's been incarcerated. He now works inside a prison, or he did. Ashley Miller, she was incarcerated. She now works for Arizona at Work and helps people that are incarcerated. So yeah, it's amazing what we're allowed to do, and you can get out. There is possibility after prison. a lot of people we were incarcerated with are in the peer support behavioral health field. And it's really amazing to get out and see how many people are thriving. Right, Chris? There's so many of us that
So good.
so good.
It
And you
is.
guys,
And that's why it
oh,
needs to expand, because that's we do have we are getting a really good response right now. Very last minute, we decided to run a Christmas Eve program in the Women's State Prison and literally show up to the prison at 6 a.m, wake everybody up because they did not expect it. And literally, that's what we did. We had to walk around with music and wake them up because they were all inside their bays and it happened to be chilly that morning. And then we told them, come out, work out, and we'll give you a surprise. So they did. They came, they worked out, and then we surprised them with coffee and donuts. And we would not be able to do that if we didn't have the permission. But I know that the prison and I know that staff is seeing the good effect.
absolutely.
The officers are reporting the good effect. The girls and their behavior, the change. I would just I'm going to share a little story. When I first went back to prison for the very first time running the program back in 2024, I went up and approached a lifer that I did time with, who I actually had a bad run-in with. And I approached this person because I wanted to apologize for being in the wrong. And I wanted to be on the yard and run programs. And I knew that she would have the ability to either bring people out to come and join the program or tell people not to come out and not join the program. And so I went up to her and she recognized me and we ended up hugging it out, and she came to class. And this is huge, much bigger than I'm even sharing in the story. But here's where I know things work. She has struggled all of her life. She's been down 20 years already with self-control and anger, which is very easy to do inside. And there was a moment not too long ago that she was pushed into feeling trapped, and she didn't respond in the normal way that she would have. And when we did reconnect, and I can't take full credit for this because she is involved in other classes and programs, which is why it's so important to have many programs to choose from. But she said that something different had been instilled in her. And she knew, and she had this brief thought of throwing it all away. And she could hear us echoing in her head. And she didn't want to do that, throw it away. And so she made a different decision and she walked away and she remained calm. And then the even bigger thing is, as she returned and she said, all right, well, here I am. Sorry for walking away. So it was the moment of self-control, which is so important. And that's one of the biggest and first movements to changing your way and actions and behavior, but then also taking full accountability and returning and owning up to it and then moving forward and knowing that those are the changes that occur. And if I didn't say it before, this person is a lifer. So to see the impact on someone like that, right? We know that our reach is grand because everybody matters, and it only takes one person. And if that one person can instill hope and then that person can feel better about themselves, it's just going to spread, right? And that's the effect that we want, because Convicted Comeback, we're only a team. I think we've got 30 people right now. I don't know if you know that number, KJ, but we've got 30 staff and volunteers under Convicted Comeback, which is unbelievable. And we've got a community hike coming up on the 11th. So I'm excited for that because the public is going to come and connect. And I'm excited to grow this movement because it really does take a village.
Yeah, I see somebody in the chat said, talk about change. Take a look at what Winslow Complex is doing. That's why I love LinkedIn, because I see the coolest stuff that like all these different prison yards are doing, and the fire crew and the dog programs. Yes. And, you know, every unit, not unit, but every complex, like I see stuff on LinkedIn all the time that is just so amazing. Arizona is doing the coolest stuff. And I saw something in the chat that said, do we get good support from the director? I'm telling you, before he was the director, when I was in prison, like I said, when they changed it to ADCRR, we were all like, yeah, but it started to change. And I did walk up to him at a drug summit and went to shake his hand. And he absolutely does support what we do, because he said, I I recognize you. He said, thank you for what you're doing. I had Shania Cooper with me. He said, thank you. He pays attention. I wanted to write a proposal and I didn't really know where to go with it. And I thought, I'm just going to be bold. I'm just going to email the director, like shot in the dark. I emailed him like on a Wednesday. Thursday morning, I wake up and he said, thank you, Kristen. I'm going to CC Courtney on this. She's the one that handles proposals. And I was like, whoa, that was easy. I was like, I'm just going to throw it out there and what happens. Yeah, so we absolutely do get good support from the director. And it's wild to me that you can actually email them down at central office and get some response back. Yeah, I had a meeting, me and a few other justice impacted individuals with some individuals, some upper in there, and they really honestly wanted to know what we thought. How can we make the second chance program better? How can we do this? Are you guys willing to help us? They really wanted, because we were all 3 second chance graduates. Well, 2 of us were when it works at second chance. And, you know, to be heard, this whole, I don't know what to call them, but everybody in charge is totally different. They literally want to hear what we say. Like, we have value. You know, not to say that there's not plenty of people that get out and don't reoffend and don't go back. I mean, there's a lot of trauma involved in that. I was always kind of really judgmental about girls who lost their children or went to children. My addiction came at a different time, but I went to prison and there is so much trauma attached to so many of these women. And you would be shocked if you knew how many women in prison are human trafficked. And I would say the very vast majority of us struggle with addiction of some kind. There's mothers and daughters and sisters and sisters. And, you know, Chris and I both were raised up in good families and we still ended up in there. But it's had we not had the values that we had instilled in us, it's really hard for some of these people that don't know any different, and that's what we're here for. And I also have to give a huge shout out to my family. The only reason I can do this is I have a very supportive husband. I had a family that visited me in prison, and most of the girls don't have that. My brother and sister, my mom and dad, my children, you know, most of the girls don't have that. So that's what we are for them. That's what we want to be for them. And we're able to do some of that. We're able to go in and make them feel that they have that support. And we do what we say. When I say I'm going to write you a letter, when I say I'm going to find this out for next time, we do that to the best of our ability. You guys, everybody, I cannot believe it's almost 3 minutes till it's over. Oh my gosh, we talk a lot, especially me probably. We're going to go back through and oh, there's my sister. We're going to go back through and answer these. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to us. And if anybody has suggestions, we just want to affect change inside and outside prison. And Chris, let me let you have you wrap it up.
Well, I'm really thankful that you guys are even here giving us this time. We are firm believers that change is possible. And so we just want to teach that exactly. And I see lots of questions, you know, about coming to other places and teaching it. And that is exactly what we want. That is the position that we want to be in, because if we can teach another state how to do what we're doing, we can learn from other states, then we're all just going to get, you know, better, well around. And that's ultimately what we should be reaching towards. So thank you guys so much. And, you know, we're totally active on social media. So reach out to us, ask us questions, and we're going to do this again.
This has been amazing. Thank you. You guys, we are convicted. Come back. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Good night, you guys.
Chris, make sure and stay on so we can. I need to turn my mic off.
Okay. Kick everybody off.
Yeah.
Good night, you guys. We did good. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay, sorry. My biggest social media platform is TikTok. We're going to answer all these Yes, why not, Reston? We're going to answer all these. We're going to end the stream now. We get up super early and it's past our bedtime, but we will both go in and answer questions. And thanks you guys for the support again. All right.
Yes, so
Bye.
much.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks, you guys.